welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're a returning viewer. I'm Maisie, and this is Maisie with a Z, and today for Bookmas Day 7, I'm going to be giving you some short book recs if you really need to finish up your Goodreads reading challenge this year. I have 12 recommendations here. They are all less than 300 pages. I've got a range of genres, so hopefully you can find something you like here. So first up is a very seasonally appropriate book, which is Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. This is set around Christmas time in New York. It starts out in the Strand bookstore, which is my absolute favorite. It follows our two main characters, Dash and Lily. And Lily basically leaves this red notebook in the Strand, challenging whoever finds it to a series of dares. So yes, they basically trade this notebook back and forth to each other without meeting. And it's super fun, very Christmassy. It's a very good time. It's YA contemporary. It's not the best written book ever, but it's a super fun Christmas read. So if that's all you're looking for, then this is a great choice for you, especially at this time of year. And it's only 260 pages of YA contemporary. So we're starting out with YA contemporary, and then we're going to move into different genres. And so next up is She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan. And this is another YA contemporary romance. This is a sapphic romance between a basketball player and a cheerleader. I don't know, it's just fun. It's kind of enemies to lovers. It's fake dating. It's just a really good time. Like, the two girls get in a car crash and then are forced to carpool with each other by their mothers until the other person's car is fixed. So they hate each other. Then they decide to start fake dating because one of them wants to get back at their ex, and also there are other reasons. It's kind of complicated, but it's just such fun fake dating, and it's cute lesbian romance, and it's so good. Highly recommend, and it's only 288 pages, so not that long a read. And it's also pretty wintry. I think the conclusion takes place over the winter break. I might be misremembering. I read this back in 2021 when it came out, so I'm a little blurry on the plot, but it's a really good time. And then next up is 16 Scandals by Sophie Jordan. This is a Regency era retelling of 16 Candles, and it's super fun. Our main character Primrose is the youngest of 4 daughters, and her birthday is completely forgotten about, and she's not allowed to debut yet, and because of her sisters, she decides to go completely off the rails on her 16th birthday because she's been completely forgotten about. So she escapes these gardens that are known for being full of debauchery and scandal, and she ends up meeting this mysterious guy, and it's just this fun romp in a Regency era society, and it's a really good time. I've never seen the original 16 Candles, but it's just super fun. I wouldn't actually know if it's a retelling or not. It's not the best book in the genre I've ever read, but it's a good time, and it's pretty short. It's only 256 pages. So yeah, if that sounds like your sort of thing, you'll probably really enjoy it. And then we've got a big change of pace with An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahira Mafi. This is set in 2003 during the US war in Iraq, and it's following a Muslim American girl. Brothers died recently, and her family's going through a lot of issues. It's very sorrowful, but it's fundamentally hopeful, and it's just a really lovely story. I don't know, it's just absolutely gorgeous, and it's beautifully sad in a way only Tahira Mafi could do. But it's heartbreaking, but beautifully written, and it's very good. I highly recommend it, and it's only 248 pages, so if you're looking for a short read, this one very much packs a punch in its relatively short page time. In another change of pace, we have The Secret Life of Kitty Granger by G.D. Foxon. This is YA. It's set in 1967 when a girl named Kitty Granger is recruited to become a spy by British secret agents after accidentally encountering a Russian spy ring. My favorite thing about this is she's autistic. I mean, she's not explicitly stated to be autistic within the text because she wouldn't have been diagnosed with that in 1967. But she's autistic, and it's so well written, and I just love her so much. It's a super fun, quick spy novel. There's no romance, which is pretty uncommon in YA books, so if you're looking for a book without romance, then I'd really recommend this. It's just fun. The actual mystery plot, well, not the absolute best mystery spy plot ever, is still really fun, and Kitty is such a great protagonist, and I just love it so much. Definitely recommend. It's only 280 pages, and it reads really quickly because it's very action-packed. Next up, we've got the Regency Fairy Tale trilogy, which I've only read the first 2 books of, so I'm mainly recommending those 2. and those are Half a Soul and 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater. These books are 300 pages or less. They're set in Regency era England. They both have some sort of fairy thing going on, where the first one follows a girl who had half her soul taken by a fairy, and so she's kind of lacking emotion, and it's kind of following her as she tries to like get her soul back. But it's also dealing with her romance with the Lord Sorcier, who's like the main magic person in the kingdom. It's also dealing a lot with the conditions of the working class at the time in a way you really wouldn't expect from this sort of Regency set fiction. It's an aspect of the period that's not usually touched on in these sorts of books. And then the second book, 10,000 Stitches, follows a maid who makes a deal with a fairy where he will help her pose as a lady in order to get the attention of one of her employers, but if the employer does not ask her to marry him within 101 days, then she will have to work as a maid for this fairy for her entire life. They're both so fun. If you like fairy tale type books, then these are absolutely for you. It's very cozy fantasy. It's not high stakes at all. It's very fun. It has all the Regency era tropes you would want, but it also is very conscious of the conditions of the working class in a way that isn't usually touched on in that sort of like romance. And yeah, I really recommend these two books. Next up, I have The Door-to-Door Bookstore by Karsten Henn. And this is 239 pages. It's following this old man named Carl, who is a book delivery person for a bookstore in Germany. And so he walks around the town every day delivering books that people have ordered. It's following him and also his usual customers, and also this 9-year-old girl who begins following along on his visits. And it's very much about human connection and friendship, and it's just really lovely. If you like Frederick Bachman type books, then you'll probably enjoy this. Like, it's about connection, it's about change, it's about people who love books, and I highly recommend it. I don't want to say too much more about the plot just because it's relatively short and I don't want to like spoil the book. But yeah, it's a good time. Or I mean, it's not a good time, it's heartbreaking in parts, but it's a really good read. Next up, we have Whereabouts by Jhumpa Lahiri. This is literary fiction. It's only 157 pages, and it's a very large type. Like, this does not take long to read. There's a female narrator. We don't end up learning her name or anything, but it's kind of following her experience in loneliness and her connections with people around her and her connections with her city, and it's really just perceiving her life through her eyes. And it follows her over the course of a year, and it's just beautiful. It's about loneliness, but in being about loneliness, it's also about connection, and it's a really good study in this woman's perspective over the course of a year, and it's beautiful. I really recommend it. It's a really short read. There's no clear plot, so if that bothers you, this probably isn't the book for you. But if you're looking for a kind of character study and examination of isolation, especially isolation even as you're surrounded by people, then I think this is a really good book. Like, I read this for a class last year and it was amazing. Next up is Scattered All Over the Earth by Yoko Tawada. And this is science fiction, near future, dystopian, 256 pages. It starts out in Scandinavia, and it's set in this world where Japan disappeared. And in disappearing, it's also kind of disappeared from like the collective cultural consciousness. It's never clear how Japan disappeared or why or any of that. But it's following this Japanese woman named Hiroko, who was living in Scandinavia at the time that Japan disappeared. And so now she's trapped there with no country to return to. And she's made a homemade language called Panska, which is mutually intelligible among different Scandinavian countries. And it's following her as she travels around Europe, like making friends as she's trying to find someone else who speaks Japanese to speak her own language. It's a really interesting exploration of country and language and identity and nationality, and if you're willing to look past the general vagueness and confusion surrounding what the actual situation is with Japan having disappeared, if you're willing to look past all that, then it has some really interesting exploration of these questions and these themes. It's kind of fun and episodic. If that sounds like your sort of thing, then this is a pretty quick read that you will probably enjoy. Next up is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone, and this is only 209 pages. It's this epistolary novel told between two agents in this time war, as expected by the name, but they're on opposite sides of the conflict, where each are from this like society that's trying to turn the threads of time into like their preferred future. But it's just them falling in love through letters that start out taunting each other, but they gradually connect, and it's just really lovely, and I really enjoy it. It's super fun. Like Scattered All Over the Earth, if you want clear world building, this is not the book for you. But otherwise, it's really good. I don't usually like science fiction, and I really enjoyed this. It's sapphic, it's beautiful, it's just fun and surprising, and if any of that sounds like your sort of vibe, then you'll probably enjoy it. I wish I could give more of a plot description, but there's really not much more to give. Like, that's the gist. But yeah, it's these two agents finding love among this like kind of timeless war that's going on forever, and them risking everything in order to be with each other, and it's just it's so good. And then last up is Poison for Breakfast by Lemony Snicket. Brief explanation if you're not familiar with the Lemony Snicket Series of Unfortunate Events universe. Lemony Snicket is a pen name for the author, and he writes books where Lemony Snicket is basically a character within the universe, and it's told from his perspective, where he's writing the books as if they're true. This is like a murder mystery where Lemony Snicket is eating breakfast and then receives a note saying there was poison in his breakfast. So it's kind of following him, exploring, and trying to figure out how the poison got into his breakfast and whether he's going to die. But in doing so, it's exploring a lot of philosophical questions in a really interesting and digestible way. It's just fun and surprising, and it's philosophical in a way only Lemony Snicket can be. If you've read A Series of Unfortunate Events, if you've read All the Wrong Questions, if you've read any of that, then it's still very much the Lemony Snicket tone. Like, it's described in the description as like a modern fable akin to The Little Prince or The Phantom Tollbooth, where like I'd say that's the general energy. It's these very digestible books that are exploring philosophical questions, and it's a really good time. And it's only 158 pages, and also the book's like that size, so it's 158 pages and the pages contain like nothing. So yes, I'd really recommend it, especially if you like any of Lemony Snicket's other books. And yeah, that's the end of my list. So those are my 11 to 12, if you're counting both Regency fairy tale books, recommendations for short book recs that you can read in a day. I hope you found something on this list that appeals to you, and thank you so much for sticking around to the end. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. This is my 7th day of Bookmas, so I'll be posting 5 more videos in the days following this, or posting regularly after December ends. So you can find me on my blog, Instagram, Storygraph, Goodreads at the links in my channel description. And yes, thank you so much for sticking around to the end, and I will see you later.